Steve Cohen. After his son Jake lost in the as an independent running against Steve Cohen. You can't do that. You don't find no Jewish organization nowhere doing ignorance like that. It just doesn't happen. We are not politically savvy. We don't understand the political process, and we need to come out of the arena until we can figure out how to get back in there and win. They play to win. We just play to play. We got to stop that.
Okay, we also see that it wasn't always the ninth district, but because of gentrification in politics, it ended up in 1953 being the ninth district. Talut, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to say something about cask and what happened yesterday? I mean, your event,
Sure.
you had some
Yes,
activity.
Yes. Yesterday, the Commission Against Senseless Killing, and if you would like more information, it's on our website at commissioneragainstsenselesskilling.com. We assembled on the corner of Brooks Road and South 3rd Street, Memphis, Tennessee. Our concerns in that is we understand that after 23, 24 years addressing homicide in Memphis, that an active body can make a change. So in that, several men, seniors and younger men, and Sister Nataka Ajaniku, who provided food and water for us. It was very hot there. It was probably one of the hottest days of the year. And we brought a casket, thanks to NJ Ford. We carried that casket from corner to corner. We displayed it as a shock aid, a visual aid to bring about shock. And I think it was very effective. We had people who blew horns, they made donations, they received our literature, they asked questions, they parked and came over to the tent and asked questions. You know, it was just a great occasion. And our next event like that would be in North Memphis. We're going to assemble on the corner of Watkins and Fraser Boulevard. We're actually going into areas where they are considered the hottest area, where most people have been killed. Okay.
I thought you were about to say we're going into areas where no man has gone before.
No,
Not quite that bad.
No. Well, that's bad.
Okay.
But the thing is, we're going into areas where our children have been murdered.
I understand.
Mostly.
I understand.
Okay.
And it's also posted on Facebook.
Yes,
I saw some
it's
activity
posted,
on Facebook.
yeah, it's posted on Facebook. Many people were videoing, taking pictures, and so do we. So look for us on Facebook, and don't forget to join our website, commissioneragainstsenselesskillings.com.
Okay. Thank you, Talut. Now this Congressional District, 9th District, it says here that, and this is a document, an audience, go to your computer and type in the 9th Congressional District / Steve Cohen and join us. It is one of the safest seats in the nation for the Democratic Party and has not been seriously contested by a Republican in its current configuration. Generally, the 9th is one of the 2 seats in Tennessee that are not seriously contested by Republicans, the other being the 5th district. But we're talking about the 9th district. And I'll take a volunteer to respond to that comment, that paragraph. Lonnie, Chase, Jeffrey. Okay.
Yeah.
Back to you, Talut.
Yes. Well, the first and foremost, we have to understand exactly the demographics of the 9th Congressional District. The 9th Congressional District is approximately 75% Black Americans. That district was carved out, in fact, for the sole purpose of giving Black Americans, African Americans, Shelby Countyans, and Memphians an opportunity to have representation in Congress. Well, we surrendered that. We surrendered that several years ago when we elected Steve Cohen, a Caucasian. So, as I mentioned before, what we are having now, and most people are satisfied and happy with that. We have a black body with a Caucasian head. It's a freak. Okay, it's a freak, and apparently we love freaks because what our people do time and time again is go re-elect the freak. Okay, now why is the question? Why is that? As the question was brought up some time ago, how does a larger group control? I mean, how a smaller group control a larger group? It's technology. It's high tech. Steve Cohen is running a high tech operation that divide on many issues. And it's going to be very difficult for low tech thinkers, as black people primarily are, to harness the power to come back together in a unit to replace that white head. It's just going to be very difficult.
Okay.
And plus, he has a war chest, finance, money that it would be almost impossible for a black candidate to raise.
Yeah. Omar, back to you. And I did speak to Steve Cohen briefly at this last debate that they had. And he said, mentioned someone running against him. He's very confident. I won't say arrogant, but confident, and maybe what you just said has something to do with it. That I'll beat him 3-1, hands down. That's what Cohen said to me. Omar, Talut just mentioned a freak. Is it a freak of nature that has taken place here? Because you remember it was John Ford Sr., then Harold Ford Sr., who stepped out, down, or whatever to run for the Senate and lost. Go ahead, Omar.
Let's look at what happened, because right now, what the media did and what I'm sure Mr. Cohen was happy with was that they started talking about the Ford political machine and talking about how the Ford family had done black people in the 9th district. And they started demonizing the Ford family. You know, Harold Ford Sr. was indicted, found innocent later, but then they stained his record with the indictment. And after some 20-some years in that position, he left, leaving it to his son, supposedly. At some point in time, one of his sons, Jake, ran against Steve Cohen. They demonized Jake for some arrest he had gotten some years earlier and was cleared, but they still made it like
he accused him of being a high school dropout as well.
Yeah, that too. So they demonized him, and then, but you know, what I look at is that Steve Cohen he's the best advertiser of himself, and he gets black folk to buy in to just little small favors. I remember one of our prominent sports figures in his town was talking about an African dignitary coming to City Hall, and he wanted to talk with him, and they didn't find no space on the agenda for him to do that. But Steve Cohen pulled the string and got him over there, so now he's on billboards promoting Steve Cohen.
Mm-hmm.
Sad to say, but a little bitty favor. But when the money comes in, which is what we really need to be talking about, the tax dollar coming in to support the community, where does he go? Let's track the money. I don't care about what he say. I want to know what he does for black people in the 9th district. I don't see that. And right now I'm tracking the money, so we can do a follow-up show to this. I want to know where every dollar is going, who's getting it, and how come we're not getting our share.
Okay, that's one of the things that we call for when we call for young people to join us and help us take over and control the 9th district. But let me ask everybody on the panel. If the community, the African American community, flourishes and prospers, would it matter if it's Steve Cohen or whomever, North and South Memphis? Chase.
Uh, Honestly, I would say yes. It still matters. Primarily because I feel like there's a certain level of uh, strategic placement, I guess, in terms of occupational, in ter-
Keep going.
yeah, in terms of occupational placement within the Jewish American community that is not followed along in the African American community. Until we start covering some of these bases, as the elder Omar Barudi mentioned, until we learn how to play the game correctly, we do need to step out. But until then, we shouldn't support any sympathizers of the African American community or uh, pretend sympathizers. I noticed that the Jewish American community, because Steve Cohen is Jewish American, and many of his constituents are Jewish Americans. I know he's a part of the subcommittee for the Constitution and I think it's civil rights, and the minority of that group is Jewish Americans. Um, we have to, we can't just support these individuals who use the African American community to gain empathy and to gain leverage over the majority, populations by showcasing themselves as minority groups themselves.
Mhm.
When in reality they're just as much a part of the dominant society as anyone else. They had just as much of a role in the slave trade and all other underhanded dealings pertaining to black people, but yet they benefit the most from black people. So yes, it does.
You made a powerful statement, and I heard something in my interpretation relative to your statement. It goes to power. Do we have a caller?
Yes.
All right, go ahead. Yes, sir. That's what yeah, inform the people. Go right ahead. What time, Chad? Okay. Yes, sir, anytime. Now, we, real quick, inform the people with truth and facts. And that's what we're going to be about. And also, we have some time, actually we have a little over 20 days, Chet, to get the word out. So at this point, let's utilize, I don't think we have much time for groundwork and flyers, but let's utilize the quick way, Facebook and text messaging. So from the Love Power Show and the people you know, and going out on other branches, let's get the word out from that point. All right, thank you for your call. Inform anytime, inform the people. Anytime, yes, sir. Now, we raised the question, Omar, about the money. Where does the money go? Money's coming in, we see that. It's documented. We've seen things go up on Broad Street, Midtown, and money coming in, and North and South Memphis does not seem to be flourishing. So, Lonnie, Jeffrey, and then Talut, and come back Omar. Does it matter if the black community was flourishing, that it's someone who doesn't look like us? If we were doing good, should we have anything to say?
I'm gonna say yeah, because like he pointed out, we are the only in Memphis. Memphis is the only majority black city with, and Shelby County is the ninth district. So with that ninth district being majority black, and like he just brother Talut pointed out, uh, with a white head, the question needs to be asked: what is wrong with Memphis? Like, well, how come? And I'm thinking it's a mental issue. But if we are flourishing, if I don't know, would it matter? We have churches out here that could provide economic means for all the incarcerated, the ones that's just coming out of incarceration, the young black men that don't have a job. We were just talking last week about, or the week before, about the unemployment rate and the poverty level, the child poverty level in Memphis. So if Cohen has been in office, well, almost 10, and
It's been a while.
it's been a while. So if the poverty level hasn't gotten
Improved.
any better,
It hasn't improved.
then what is he still there for? You know, that's what I'm saying. If he's representing,
Great.
but I'm thinking about the whole, like when Harrington and Cohen was running together, and Harrington said, look, it's not just 9 districts. What about Tennessee? We got 9 districts, and there's not one black man that represents Tennessee. So
Okay.
we need to be asking a serious question. But I don't know. I do believe we have to seriously look at the ones that can change our situation, not just Congress and state representatives, but
There's nothing wrong. You pointed out something, and there's nothing wrong with saying I don't know. Omar pointed out that we're going to do a series of these discussions, and what has come out thus far is a need for the development of skills and insight and further examination. That's been pointed out.
But
You want to make one more comment?
what he said, numbers does matter, so we have to be willing to look into the numbers and see where the money going to. And
All right.
start from there. That's what I
We've got Brother Pianki on the line. Go ahead, Brother Pianki.
do.
Not just the pipes. Not just the pipes, huh? Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Say it again, east. Okay, okay. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go to Jeffrey now and let Jeffrey speak to your comment, Pianki. Thank you for your call. Thank you for your call.
And Bianchi, I pretty much agree with you. With the comment, we definitely have to have a plan and an agenda of our own. Um, also, but just to continue that, we have to try to get things accomplished by any means. And that's going to be us devising our own plans, and also, since there is a powers that be, we do have to deal with them. The choices that they make do affect our lives. So we also have to be cognizant of that as well. And as far as Brother Wallace, your question about whether or not it matters, if black people flourish, if you have, you know, a white head, but black people are flourishing. Um, with that question, just to make it relative to the topic of what's going on here in Memphis with having someone, Steve Hope, Cohen representing, and the majority population here in Memphis is black. I definitely do think that it matters, and that it's not a good thing, because, like Lonnie pointed out, there's 9 districts here in the whole state of Tennessee, and there's not one black man to represent anyone. And like my brother Chase pointed out, um, he he's Jewish. Just do the history and the research.
Okay.
And the same people that we know that run the federal banks, and who really control, who really are the powers that be, who actually do have the power, real power influence all over the nation and the world. These are the people this man represents. He doesn't represent us. He doesn't. When I say us, I mean those people who refer to themselves as black or African American or from the diaspora of Africa. His agenda is totally different from ours. We have a tendency here to think that we make our choices one or the other. Um, and this is the political game that they play. A lot of people want to just vote for a man that's running just based upon whether he's red or blue, or Republican or Democrat. We've got to look beyond that, because, and I think we'll see that here in this next election, that it is really not about that. It's about who that person represents, and if that person has the intentions of really being a service to the community that he represents, and if he can actually get that done.
All right, Jeffrey. African Americans facing uphill battles politically, and Talut pointed out high tech and low level of technical thinking. Do we have a call?
Yes, Al.
Who?
Al.
Al Hunter. Come on, Al. Yes, sir. Okay. Well, I'll say this, Al. I've seen the only signs that I've seen, and the only person that I've really heard from is what's his name, LaTroy Williams. Yeah. So to speak to some of your question, but go ahead, continue. Oh, okay. I see. I see. Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. On the conference, at the conference, Dr. Eddie Yancey pointed out divide and conquer. Is LaTroy Williams, in your opinion, we don't have time to get into it today, but maybe next week, we'll have you give us a call and break down in detail how you come to your conclusion. But does he represent an entity of divide and conquer? Okay, okay. All right. Uh, okay. Yes. Okay. 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 All right. That was okay. All right. Okay. Well, let me ask you this before you go. Should we continue, and definitely we're going to dig into this city council situation. Based on what you've said, should we continue to examine this 9th congressional district and Steve Cohen? Based on what you said, I think so. Okay. Right, I understand. We should use this as an educational and informative tool going forward. Thank you, Brother Al, for your call. Okay. All right. It's too bad we don't have a one phone line. Also, something you said, Talut, is that he has a huge war chest. But now you said something about it almost being impossible unless the people rise up in mass numbers. Now, let me ask you, Talut, what is a model?
Well, a model is anything that would be put forth as an example of progress, you know, of a guide, okay, that we should go by. That would be a model.
Okay. So African Americans, that was another thing that came out of the conference. We should ask ourselves, where is our model in terms of this particular issue here?
Yeah.
And Al just pointed out something, so maybe that's something we should be taking a look at going forward. But in addition, go ahead, because I've got something else I want to ask you.
Go ahead, man.
Okay. It says that redistricting after 1970 census and massive voter registration added a larger number of eligible African Americans that had previously been in the district. This suddenly depleted the guy, Kirkendall, who was in there. And so this gave African Americans a larger voting percentage.
It's called gerrymandering.
Is it gerrymandering or redistricting? Same thing?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
But the problem isn't anything physical. It's strictly a psychological problem that black people have in this area. It has nothing to do with numbers and much to do with money or anything. It's just how we think as a people, collectively. We still believe that the white man's wrong and of doing nothing is better than the black man's wrong and of doing nothing. We believe that.
Okay, now we had Harold Ford Sr. and Harold Ford Jr. in those positions.
I understand.
And then we had massive this article. And I remember something that happened, and actually, obviously, African Americans somewhere lost and found ourselves in the situation that we're in. And I want to point something out when you address that. You will recall the event that we came together, African Americans, and elected Harrington. We seem to be up and down, gain and then lose. Go ahead.
My point is this. Specifically, a white man doing nothing is better than a black man doing nothing. Harold Ford and the whole Harold Ford family in Congress did very little. Okay. But Steve Cohen has done nothing. And so we put Steve Cohen back in because he's white. That's all.
Okay.
It's not because of what he's done, because we can't find anything that he has done. We voting on him against blacks who look like us, who we also say this black person get in office, he's not going to do nothing. Okay? What we've concluded is that the white man doing nothing is better than the black man or woman doing nothing. But the truth is, it's just the opposite. We got with a black person in that office doing nothing than a white person in that office doing nothing. Okay. But then we rationalize that color means nothing. See, all this nothingness. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. We getting nothing, we doing nothing, we rationalizing on nothing.
Okay.
Okay, so the best position for us would be to put somebody black in office. But we can't do that. Why? Because if there is 275, 300,000 black Democrats in this area. Every one of them would have a different opinion.
Okay.
That's how divided we are. Every vote would be different on the issue.
I think the reason is, and the solution to, is that there is a deficit in leadership. And that is because of the fear element, and I'm included in that. Well, I'm not afraid, but I'm included in the deficit part of the equation in terms of leadership, and saying that it's my responsibility, it's our responsibility to make this change. We've got to call them. How many minutes do we have left? 15? We are up against the clock. We've got Kazi on the line, and I want to get Chase in. I saw your hand up. Kazi, take 90 seconds and 30 seconds to wrap it up. Yes. Okay? And I don't know, we may have Al call back. He made that statement. Go ahead, what's your second question? Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you, Brother Kazi, for your call. All right. Okay. Thank you, Kazi. Yeah. Yes. Chase, he said you have a point you want to make, but he said politicians know how to bring about a consensus candidate, shape and groom going forward. Address that. I want to go to Omar. We've got 10 minutes and speak to your.
Yes, sir. And it's very interesting. That's exactly where I was going in the point that I wanted to make. I think there has been a break in the lineage in terms of selecting leadership or creating a leadership model. So one idea is just one possible means of a model for leadership. Just like what the brother just said, called in and said, is that we, go into the churches, go into the schools, go into the communities, and find some of the upstanding students on their way to college instead of you know throwing them out into the pits and into the wilderness hoping they get a scholarship. Why not education independently, with the community dollars, with the church dollars, with the union dollars. We fund their education, and then in the process of funding their education, we supplement their education with hands-on experience in the community that we want them to come back and serve at the completion of their educational process. I think that's now, to me, I think that would be the most practical approach towards creating a new leadership model from scratch. I often look at, for example, myself. I was a high school dropout, and going to college was never just, it wasn't even a remotely close idea in my mind. But I was always politically savvy. I always knew how to make my point, felt or express myself in ways that most children, looked up to.
Mm-hmm.
But but not having the leadership model, not having the proper structural, I guess, development kind of caused me to go outside of the lines, I guess. And so that's all I really have on
And I think that's something we all can relate to. And maybe that's something we're going to be doing some sessions along those lines and call these sessions therapeutic processes. Omar, speak to any part of it.
Let's look at Steve Cohen's initiation into the House of Representatives. When he first got into the House as a junior congressman, he did some things that endeared black people to him, and all of it was really symbolism. But he did it, and black people liked it, like Bill Clinton did when he played the guitar or the saxophone.
Saxophone.
I think it was on the Arsenio Hall show.
Mm-hmm.
And they claim he was the first black president.
Mm-hmm.
And in his first black presidency, the black prison population went from 200,000 to 2.3 million. We're still suffering today. He liked us so well, he wanted to keep us around behind bars. And in his first black presidency, those inmates who were convicted of cocaine, not cocaine, but crack cocaine, were given extra sentences over those who were convicted of powder cocaine. And as a result, some of our young brothers, I see them when I go to the prison, you got sometimes 20, 30 years to life for drug charges, not violent behavior of any kind, not using a weapon, just drug charges, which there's no other country like that. So now you have another white man following Bill Clinton's example who comes into the Congress because we have a divided population, just like Dr. Cook was saying, the mind is messed up. He comes in, and then here's what some of the things he does. He introduced a resolution paying homage to Stack Records and the Negro Baseball League.
Mm-hmm.
And then he apologized, since the previous presidents and the Congress wouldn't apologize for slavery, he apologized for slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And then he joins with John Conyers, who's also in the Congressional Black Caucus, to try to put a reparations bill on the floor, even though he knows these white people who control the Congress are not going to even let it get out of committee.
Mm-hmm.
But he's doing those symbolic things that black people like, trying to get them endeared to him. But now when it comes to the money, like I said, in a conversation with you off the air,
Yes.
Orange Mountain, but Binghamton got some money. Right down on Broad Street, but we don't live and we don't shop. Millions of dollars went there.
Yes.
Right there from Broad and Hollywood all the way to Broad and Scott Street. And it only got a few doors past Scott Street because they made some bicycle lanes.
Right.
But those businesses on Broad Avenue, all those got renovation, and you can see millions of dollars went into there. We don't own the stores, we don't shop at the stores, and we might have even worked there.
Right.
But the millions of dollars came in, and it said it came into the Memphis, Binghamton area, but it didn't come to the part of Binghamton where I live. And I grew up in Binghamton.
Okay.
I'm sure we track the money, and that's why we got to track the money.
Right. Absolutely.
We'll find out that most of the money coming into Memphis at the hands of Steve Cohen is not going to the black people that he's supposed to represent. We have got to hold this man accountable, like Brother Pianco was saying. We got to hold him accountable. And if he ain't doing what he needs to do, we need to get rid of him.
Right.
We need to back somebody else. We need to find that person today. I'm like with cars. We can't put him in this race. We need to find him pretty soon.
That was Al. Mm-hmm.
Find him pretty soon, and then go ahead and groom him for what's coming. But we need a research team so we can find the things that he needs to talk on, those talking points. And then we need to make sure that he represents us when he gets into that house.
Yeah, you're bringing another element that Pianki mentioned. That is the element that creates power, and that is not asking or begging, but demanding.
Yeah.
That even requires.
And check this out. He even tried to join the Congressional Black Caucus, and they wouldn't let him in.
Mm-hmm.
Even though People have, people, in fact, they had an article on him saying that he had a child born out of wedlock. He enjoyed the article because he's gay and he didn't want to advertise his homosexuality. And then CNN did a free DNA test only to find out that it wasn't his child. But again, that's the Steve Cohen that we need to research.
Right, we are up against the clock. I'm going to skip down a little bit and read another paragraph. It says that Cohen, at that time, and probably still is, widely regarded as one of the Senate's toughest and most articulate debaters, as he has an unusual, straightforward, and direct style when compared to other Southern politicians. One Tennessee writer described him as very outspoken. This was a Tennessee writer. Distant and a lot more cerebral than most of his colleagues. Cerebral. So this is the way he's described. And Talut, I think you have a burning desire.
Thank you.
Yes.
You know, what you just read and what the Tennessee writer wrote
Yes.
is all about supporting Steve Cohen.
Okay.
Yes.
White folks support white folks.
Okay.
Yes.
White folks say nice things about white folks.
Okay.
Black folks don't. See, that's a mentality.
Uh-huh.
And you're going to see that across the board.
Yeah.
Forever.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Well,
And-
forever?
Yes. And because, let me finish my point.
Yeah.
Because white people think differently than black people. Black people think on the negative, white people think on the positive.
Okay.
Okay. So
Real quick, we're up against the clock.
Yeah.
I want everybody to address that forever.
Sure. But the point is, I'm speaking as a qualified man. I was the,
Oh, absolutely, you're qualified.
First, I was the chairman, ex officio chairman of the Shelby County Democratic Party.
I remember.
I've owned businesses in this area since I was a young man. I've hired as many as 15 employees in my business.
Yes.
Okay, I've created organizations like the Commission Against Senseless Killing. Created another one locally, just recently here, in a couple of years, the 9th Congressional District of Tennessee. Okay, so I've been in the community, I've lived here a whole lifetime, and I've worked here, I've built businesses here, and I've led the political party.
We're almost out of time.
Thank you.
Well, we're almost out of time. And we want you to get more into that when we come back. More to what you just said. And this whole final thoughts, 30 seconds each. This whole forever thing. Black people forever are going to, how did you put that, Tyler?
Speak from the negative.
Forever, he said. Are black people, I think differently. I think more optimistic. Now listen, I must admit that often I have these ideas, idealistic ideas, and I think so optimistic, and often it doesn't come to fruition. Are black people, see, when you say forever and think from the negative,